Hey, it's Heidi. Welcome back for another video. I am so glad you're here. This week, our topic is detachment. We are going to talk a lot about detachment. I'm going to give you some of my best tips, things to remember, things to consider. And of course, if you want more information on how to really dive deeper into dealing with your codependent, toxic, or dysfunctional relationship issues, you can always go over to lovecoachheidi.com and check out the many programs and resources we have available over there to support you on your road to toxic relationship recovery. So if you're new here, I want to take a minute and say welcome home. I am so glad you found me. Likely this popped up because of all of the other wonderful supporters who clicked like or left a comment, because that helped us be seen. So if you are here, please, if I say something that resonates with you, that helps you in any way, will you please leave us a comment? Because again, it helps us help more people. So let's dive into it. Now, I've been doing this talk on detachment for a very long time. In fact, I used to just kind of focus on the three. Maybe you've heard of this before. If you've done any kind of support, gone to Al-Anon or any kind of resources, you might have heard of the 3 C's, right? So when we talk about detachment, what are we detaching from? Well, in the old school way of describing this, we're talking about cause, cure, and control. And this is super important. So I do want to take a minute to talk about these 3 C's, but then I'm going to give you some other secret things that you're going to need to detach from that a lot of people aren't talking about that I think are even more important, if not equally as important as the 3 C's. So cause, cure, and control. All right. If you're going to be in a relationship, if you're going to even make your relationship work, let's say you're in a relationship with an addict or an alcoholic and you want to keep being in this person's life, you're still going to need to practice some form of detachment, even when you're in a relationship with that person. Or if you're deciding to detach totally, these are still things you need to consider. So whether you're in or out, these are going to be universal things that you need to know, okay? So, cause. If you believe that you are responsible for the way that this toxic or dysfunctional person is treating you, how it shows up in your behavior is that you walk on eggshells. You're always very careful not to say or do the wrong thing to make this person behave the way they're behaving, whether it's drink, use drugs, say something hurtful to you, reject you, abandon you, do their old song and dance. So if you're thinking you're the cause of their behavior, it's going to launch you into 2 things, that walking on eggshells behavior or enabling behavior, where you're going to keep co-signing, justifying, rationalizing, and excusing their behavior or minimizing their behavior and thinking that you're having something to do with that. And that's actually enabling them to stay being dysfunctional, toxic, or addicted in that relationship dynamic because you're taking all the responsibility. So you did not cause this. People behave how they behave. Maybe are you engaging in a way that you're not proud of with that person? Okay. Are you, it's kind of like, the battered woman who says that the guy or the person that hits, and believe me, I work with all kinds of people. Physical abuse in a relationship goes always. And if you're in that kind of relationship, I recommend that you go to the hotline.org at any time and get the extra support that you need. But let's say it's physically abusive. We've all seen or heard that old thing where we say, oh, you had it coming. Or if you wouldn't have done that thing, I wouldn't have hit you. And if we're not rooted and grounded in the truth that we didn't cause this, we'll actually believe that. Well, I did have it coming. I egged them on. I pushed them too far to this certain point. And I'm here to tell you that abusive people don't need to be pushed to a point to be abusive. They're abusive with or without that point, and they'll make up that point even if you didn't create it. Do you understand? They're always going to justify and rationalize and blame their behavior on you. So if you're falling prey to that, then you'll believe that you are the cause and you'll start walking on eggshells, trying not to upset them or hurt them or make them act in the crazy way they're acting. But you don't do that. People act crazy because they're crazy, not because you did something to make them act crazy. All right. So that's the first thing you need to detach from. The second thing you need to detach from is thinking that you have any control over this. Meaning, and this is again, the same kind of thing as cause, right? Except we can really get into controlling where we think if we lecture, if we sit them down and just talk to them enough and show them how they're treating us, if we educate them on their behavior, that'll be enough for them to change. If we dole out the medication or hide the alcohol, or, we're in charge of how much we're dispensing the substance to them, that we can control the situation. I can tell you there's all kinds of crazy ways that we go about trying to control somebody's dysfunction and toxicity. If I keep the house clean enough, if I just control the kids, if I control everybody else's reaction to them, and we get into this controlling behavior is probably one of the number one things that we have to undo when we're looking at codependence, which, by the way, if you're in a relationship of this kind and you're watching this video, you're in a codependent relationship. Are you codependent or are they codependent? Well, two people, you're both codependent, all right? So whether you get distance from that toxic or dysfunctional person or addict and you're detaching, you're still going to need to engage in your own recovery because you've been codependent here. And what is codependency? It's just a way, from my perspective, to function in dysfunction. It's a way to survive, thrive, connect, or cope in that crazy dynamic. So you've taken on these ways of being. And control is a way that you behave, but at what expense? At what expense is that costing you? Constantly trying to outsmart the next step, thinking about what you can do to manipulate the situation. I mean, it keeps you up at night, strategizing how to change this thing. And that leads you to the third C, which is cure. If you're a controller, likely you're trying to learn how to fix this thing. And again, you can't want somebody to be healthy enough. You can't love somebody into submission that way where they're going to say suddenly, oh yeah, I see, you're fixing me. We think where there's a prize for staying in this relationship that they're going to look around and realize, wow, you put up with me when I was at my worst. Wow, my goodness. But all that says is you don't have the self-esteem to get out of that thing, right? They're not looking at you like, wow, you're the best person in the world. 9 times out of 10, they're thinking to themselves, I wouldn't stay. I wouldn't suffer through this, right? I wouldn't put myself in this situation over and over again. And so, but you think that you can fix it. Now, again, I know I'm sounding a little hard. I don't mean to come down hard on you. The reason that and you know me by now, if you've watched my videos or the first time, you're like, gee whiz, I like to just give it to you straight. And it is out of love. Sometimes we need to hear the thing that's hard to hear. I know that if you're here and you're watching these videos, you're not afraid to hear what you need to hear. You're a person but because you're a strong person, right? You're a strong person, you're a survivor, you're an overcomer. But I'm going to tell you what goes along with that is this delusion that we can fix things. We think that we have more power than we have because we're powerful people in many ways, right? Now, we've lost our power. We've lost our power to this relationship. We've lost our power to the substance, the person on the substance. We've lost our power and we're hustling, scrambling, trying to get it back through fixing the other person. And you can't get your power back by trying to fix it from the other person. The power is here within you. So we've got to turn the focus from them to you. If you can't fix that, how can you fix what's going on with you? Right? If you detach from that. So that's the normal cause, cure, control. Now, look, I know I just give you like a fire hose version because you know how I am. I'm just like, quick, let's get to the point. But this is like a big deal. This takes longer than a 7-minute video. Okay. This is longer than you just hearing these words and getting like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's why we have our programs. That's why we focus on addiction inside of our life school, Love Yourself First Empowerment School. We focus on addiction and on the 3 C's and how to really navigate your way through that because it's like a spiritual practice. How long have you been in this dynamic? How long have you been struggling to fix, to walk on eggshells, to fix the other person? How long have you been doing that? Well, your behavior isn't going to change overnight. You can become addicted to the behavior that you're having, right? And so you're trying so hard to detach, but you keep getting sucked back in. You're pulling away from that person, but you find they manipulate you, gaslight you, and they get you back in under the spell. And then you keep doing the same dance again, hoping and praying things will change, but they never do. I want to help you get your power back so that you don't keep falling for that over and over again, so that you know how to navigate this dynamic while still keeping control of yourself and not getting sucked into the drama all the time, right? Because we know how that is. So, but the other things that people don't always talk about when we talk about detaching are the much harder kind of things, even though these 3 C's are extremely difficult. But let me tell you what's harder for a lot of people is detaching from the guilt, that goes along with making the decision to detach. Because one of two things either happens. Either you feel terrible that you're detaching and you're like, man, I feel so ashamed. I'm so shameful that I'm just letting them go, that I'm not caring so much about what they're doing. And I'm the only person that does care about them. And if I don't care about them, I'm a bad wife, I'm a bad husband, I'm a bad partner, I'm a bad daughter, I'm a bad, you name it, right? I'm a bad child, I'm a bad parent if it's my child. We tell all these stories, so we have this tremendous guilt, and that guilt, even though intellectually we will know better, the emotions will get the better of us and we'll keep getting sucked back into that dynamic all over again. So we've got to learn how to do with our guilt. We have to learn how to process that guilt. I know when I've detached from a lot of other people, the opinions of other people has been enough sometimes to shake me up. And, people have a lot of opinions. Oh, that's your child. You shouldn't. How can you do that? How can you detach from that person? Oh my gosh, you guys were together for 20 years. I mean, he's going to get his stuff together. I mean, how could you, or you have other people telling you should have done that long, long ago and judging you about how you're in that and how hard it is for you to get out. Or you're happy that you got out. And you're like, it is a child, and you've detached from that addicted child, and people are like, how could you possibly do that? Aren't you worried? And you're like, I'm sleeping well for the first time in the last 10 years. And you feel guilty for feeling okay. There's so many feelings that go along with this detaching. What do you do with the longing, the grief? What do you do when you're missing that person? How do you detach from the fear of what's going to happen when you let go? Is that person going to hurt themselves even more? Right? Is that person going to go off the deep end really when you pull out and detach from them? From the anger, how do you detach from the anger? Well, I put all this work and effort in this person, and I'm going to detach from them, and they're going to go find and somebody else is going to get a better version of that person than I got. And you have jealousy or contempt around that you need to work through. So it's not just the kind of strategies that you need to get, cause, control, and cure, and to be educated on toxicity and toxic people and dysfunctional relationships. You need that education faux show, okay? But you also need the emotional support component that goes along with detaching. It's not just as like, thank God that's over with. Some of you might think that's how you get to the point where you just know it's over and you just walk away and you never look back. But I'm going to tell you what you do instead. You might walk away and never look back from that person, but you attracted another person all over again, because you can't just walk away and never deal with that stuff, where it keeps coming up over again and repeating itself and rearing its ugly head in other relationships. So you're going to need to get a handle on this emotional piece too. That's why I'm always encouraging you, yes, watch these videos. I know they're helpful. I know you're making big strides, because you leave me the comments and you tell me about it. And I'm so proud of you. But I want you to consider the next step, which is getting that support network around you, Lone Ranger, okay? Getting that support network around you so that we can come alongside of you and really support you even further on your journey, so that we break these toxic cycles for good, that you don't end up repeating this pattern with somebody else in another relationship, that you're teaching the people that are in your life how to treat you from now on. It's not just this intimate relationship or the child or the parent, it's every relationship likely has been impacted by this. So if this is helpful, leave a comment. YouTube is huge. It is a giant place where it's hard to find the support we need. And I know that these videos are good. I know they are, not just because you tell me, but because I've seen them work in the lives of my clients and students for a decade. Just getting the grasp on some of these concepts can really take your life to the next level. So I know they're helpful. So would you leave a comment? I know that's tough sometimes. You want to be incognito. You can always join our private group, which is over on Facebook right now. And whenever you're watching this, you're probably like, what was Facebook? If it's like, as this stays on forever. But right now, if Facebook is still around, okay, we have addiction, codependency, and toxic relationship recovery. That's our private group where nobody can see you inside that group except who's in it. And of course, if you want even more private support, come inside of our semi-private group programs, which are off social media totally and just in a private only members space where I'm there present with you. I'll be back on YouTube on Wednesdays live at noon Eastern time to answer questions and deepen our connection and take you a little further. And as always, if you want me to come alongside of you and support you, you're considering mentorship, coaching, program, go over to lovecoachheidi.com and send us a message. All right. I love you. And this is just the beginning of our conversation on detachment. Lots more to come. See you soon.